Hey, on this episode of the Average Fellas podcast, we talk with our friends from Alaska, Alyssa and Mary. We had a really good conversation. We caught up and we talked about Alaska, obviously. We talked about women's rights and feminism in Alaska. It was a really good episode. There was some call issues because it's handled online and it's a long distance. We did have some interference, so it's just a fair warning. Sorry for the interference and the technical difficulties that we had recording this episode, but it was still a awesome episode. So with that much said, hope you guys enjoy.
If you're looking for the most amazing podcast ever, well, this isn't it. You're listening to the Average Fellas podcast, guaranteed to let you down and leave you unsatisfied.
Is going on, ladies and gentlemen? This is your host, Zodi Zach of the Average Fellas podcast, and I'm coming to you live, I guess. I don't know. We're not live, but from Riverside, California. And this is a late night show. We're on pretty late. We have some guests on that had real lives, not like me, where I just get to hang out and wait for people to actually, have time because I don't have anything going on. I lost my job because of COVID, right? Anyways, so yeah, great show. Today is August 3rd, and it's Monday. It's a Monday night. This is so cool. I'm glad we're doing a night show. A night show is what I'm excited for. Hey, I just want to thank the listeners. You guys did an amazing job this last week. We reached over 150 downloads for the first 4 episodes, and I think it's climbing past 175 downloads now. So thank you guys so much. Shout out to all the listeners. That's upwards of 40 downloads per episode, guys. Yeah, you know where to find us. We're on all the major platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all that good stuff. Yeah, cool. Take a look at our Instagram, Average Fellas Podcast. Take a look at our Twitter, all that good stuff, all that jazz, our YouTube channel. Anyways, like I said, it's the 3rd of August, and on August 3rd in 1958, a U.S. nuclear submarine called the Nautilus accomplished its first undersea voyage to the geographic North Pole. The cool thing is that the Nautilus dived at Point Barrow in Alaska. That's where it set off. It dived there in Point Barrow before it went off to chart the North Pole. So interesting fact about August 3rd, right? Cool little date there. Yeah. Hey, Alex, what'd you do this weekend?
Die inside.
You died a little bit inside, huh? I'm so sorry, my guy. I'm so sorry. Alex is working through this pandemic right now, so
I'm a hero, as I said many times, and it's not fun.
Yeah, and I'm so sorry. You got to deal with some of the craziness out there right now. That's wild. But my wife and I this weekend yesterday, actually, we went to wine country here in SoCal in Temecula. Have you heard of that area, Temecula, California?
Wow, dude. I'm glad you were able to enjoy wine country while I was at work. I appreciate
it. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, man. This is the highlight of my life.
My life on the line so you can go to wine country.
Thank you so much. All right. I social distance, right? It was all outdoor, areas and stuff, and took the mask and all that. So hopefully hopefully these businesses, they just barely reopened and then they had to close again. So hopefully in some way, they make it. I hope they make it out there. Maybe my business to help them out. I did get some connections for some cool live events that they're going to be doing there. When they reopen, they're going to be hosting live music, some Friday and Saturday nights out there in Temecula and wine country. So that's kind of be fun. That's gonna be fun, right? Excited for that. Anyways, yeah, that was my weekend. I almost got stuck there. It's it's one of those things. You start off in wine country and you're like, oh, I'm just going to go to one spot. And then it turns into 2 spots. And God knows how many spots you end up at by the end of the day, right? So we got out of there alive. We made it out. You know, I think we spent like $40 or something. So we made it out alive. So anyways, yeah, I want to kind of just get into the show because we have some really cool guests here that I think you guys would enjoy hearing their story. These are people that Alex and I met, Moon and I met on vacation. We were on vacation in South Korea, and somehow the stars aligned for us just to meet and become friends. And here we are 3 years later. I give you guys Murph and Mary.
Hey. Hey. I wanted to say before anything, like I didn't want to cut you off, but I have family in Temecula.
Well, whenever you're in town, now you know. Yes.
Yeah, they don't own a winery though, so I don't go there often.
Oh.
But
well, you know, Temecula it was beautiful. I was surprised. I was pleasantly surprised because out here in the part of SoCal that I live in is kind of all desert, and you just see a bunch of rocks. So it was sort of like a nice, refreshing thing to kind of see something growing out of the ground. Like, oh my god, that's
green.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's nice.
Green, yeah,
we get like too much of that up here. So yeah.
Yeah. So
anytime you guys want some green, come up here. Bruce, it's evergreen. It's always green.
I don't know if I told my listeners. I think I told them last episode, but you guys are from Alaska.
Yes. Sorry.
Yeah, one for Alaska.
49th state.
Woo. Can you guys see Russia from your backyard? That's what all the listeners want to know.
No. I
also, because I'm a pedant, I have to correct you. I think that in your history, this day in history,
which is interesting, didn't know that.
Get him.
It's Barrow.
Barrow. Oh, not bar. I'm sorry.
It's Octaviak now because you have to pronounce it the native pronunciation.
It's been renamed.
Yeah.
Oh,
kind of like Mount McKinley.
Mount McKinley is no
now Denali.
It's Denali. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. Just a kernel of knowledge and no judgment assigned there.
We're trying to honor the indigenous peoples of the area.
That's awesome. No, that's cool. I'm glad you made that out. I'm glad you pointed that out. You know, usually I don't know. So I guess the gimmick behind the show is it's supposed to be kind of mediocre. It's average fellas, right? So I kind of
not average.
You know,
with a name like Jody Zach.
I know.
You're well above mediocre.
Actually,
Jody Zach and Moon, you guys are fucking like stellar. It's a podcast, right?
Oh, it's a podcast. It's a podcast.
Okay, I was like, man, no.
Yeah,
yes and
no. I actually, there's no FCC restrictions or anything like that. The only thing I would have to do is just put it as not for child content in like YouTube, stuff.
Yeah,
but
or you could put like
leave it to Mary, leave it to me, or you can put like a fart noise.
I can bleep it out. We can bleep it out.
Everyone gets one swear word.
Okay,
just
cool.
one.
I gotta pick which one I want. Yeah, use it up in the first 5 minutes, man.
That's it. One.
Done. You're out.
That's
one
funny.
strike.
Yeah, I'm not gonna worry if if it comes out. It happens. I just try not to drop F-bombs every other time and stuff like that. I just try to keep it as approachable for all listeners. That's it. But I'm not whatever. It's a casual show. If people out there listening, y'all know what it is. It's the Average Fellas Podcast. Come on.
Right. Average people drop an F-bomb every now and then, especially when they're trying to, when they're just trying to get a point across.
Especially when they're raising awareness about indigenous people. So, there
exactly.
Yes.
Thank you.
Alaska. I get to my notes because I was supposed to ask you guys how's life. That was like the first question.
We just went straight into it like a train off the tracks.
Gosh, that's funny. So anyways, how is life? What is life like? I haven't talked to you guys in 3 years. It's been, we've just seen.
I can't believe it's been 3 years.
Isn't that crazy?
That's nuts.
Oh my goodness.
I got into a relationship literally right after I got home, and that relationship just ended. So life. Life is weird.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
But it's okay because I got a dog instead of a boyfriend, so it's fine.
Yes, dogs.
You know what I mean?
Some might say it's better than a boyfriend.
Definitely.
I would.
Also. So a majority of the people involved in this podcast would say it's better.
I agree. It's just love. They just love you. And you could be a jerk to a dog, and for some reason the dog just loves you because they imprint on you. And God, I'm just like, oh, my puppy. I
know, she loves me. She wants to see me all the time, and no one wants that. You know, it's just really comforting.
My wife has a hard time with that. You know, sometimes it's funny. It's just funny because I'm like, yeah, can I get you on the podcast? And she's like, oh, baby. You know, like you talk a lot already, and I was like, okay, yeah, you're right.
You want to like set a time aside to talk? That's crazy.
Yeah, so no, but eventually I'll get her on the podcast. We'll do something, but
good.
Yeah, so
how's life for you, Mary? Sorry, I didn't mean to hijack that.
Life is good. I feel like Alaska is a lot better off in some ways than the lower 48 when it comes to the coronavirus. Yeah, I mean, I'm safer than you.
It might be true.
There's so few people per populate. Like the population density is a lot less, and so the incidence or the risk of contact is a lot less. So a lot of the strictures that are in place in some places in the lower 48 aren't necessary here. At least that's what the people in charge are saying. And so I think most people are somewhat unaffected by the current situation.
Also, Mary bought a house and has been working on that.
Wow.
And that's where we are right now. Yeah, and she's doing great things. It's like, wow. Yeah. I mean, do I need to brag for you?
Yeah, brag for her. Yeah. The humble brag. We need the humble brag. Give us the humble brag.
The humble brag.
Yeah.
Humility brag here. No, Mary bought this sweet house that needed a ton of work. And yeah, and just has like transformed it into this lovely 3-level. Wait, are there 4 levels? 3 levels.
Subtle.
I gotta count. It doesn't matter. It's a brag. It's so many levels you can't even count. You know what I mean?
Awesome.
Hey. It's a great deal though.
More levels, moving up the levels. That's
yeah, exactly.
You bought a house.
I bought a closed house. She bought a house she bought a great investment. Is what she bought. I bought a freaking like money pit.
And no, her project that she is succeeding at. No,
Murphy did a wise investment.
Yeah. Well, you know, this is a thing. Alaska, people are always talking about like, oh, just sell everything, move to Alaska. It's the land of gold. You know, the Simpsons, they kind of get about that. They do that all the time. Right?
That's a great move.
I love that you reference the Simpsons.
Yeah. Okay. Real question. Is this real though? Because I want to know. The Simpsons said they pay you to live in Alaska. Is that true?
Kind of. It's called the permanent fund dividend. And so every year we get a
stipend,
basically, because there's a lot of multinational corporations that do a lot of like purchase a lot of mineral rights here.
Yeah.
And so they're kind of paying back the people who live here to take
it's basically like the resource pillaging that's happening here. They are like, hey, you get a tiny fraction of that coin that we have extracted from the earth, and here's a little check for it. Wow. And that's actually a hot topic of debate within Alaska right now because the economy is based it's entrenched. It is solely based on essentially oil and natural gas and
because of the coronavirus this year. Normally we get the PFD or permanent fund dividend every fall, and this year, you know, so many people, despite the fact that we're somewhat isolated and somewhat shielded from a lot of the crises that occur in the lower 48, we were affected by it and still are. They released the dividend early. I believe it was July 1st or June 1st.
June 1st.
And it was like it was less than what it normally is, and that's always something that people complain about is how much it is, because back when I was a kid, you got $2,200 a year, and this year it was 990,
something like that.
Yeah, but I mean, as someone who wasn't born here, I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys are giving me a check?
Yeah. Oh, wait, so what is that called? What is that called if you're not like a native Alaskan? Like, what is that called? Your transplant?
Yeah.
Most people, well, I shouldn't say most people, but it's kind of a common thing. Like, when you meet someone in Alaska, you're like, oh, where are you from? You know, and like, I would say...
It's like Las Vegas.
It's
like from there, for the most part.
For the most part. And like, of course, you meet people that are, and they're, you know, natives, and they're like, oh yeah, I was born here, or my parents were, and like they always specify, like, oh, I've been here 3 generations. You know?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then, so people who are like from here, sometimes there's actually like a colloquial expression for it, and that is if you've been here, you weren't born here, but you've been here for a long time, you're called a sourdough because you're seasoned.
Wow.
Kind of like, yeah. And then if you're new, you're called a chichaco, which is like, I think Athabascan for like, it's kind of like greenhorn in California.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah. Not everyone uses
We
this
just
term,
blasted
so.
you in the very first question with a bunch of Alaskan
No, it's
knowledge.
cool. It's cool. It's cool. I didn't even like. I'm not even like look at my notes because you guys are just answering a bunch of great questions that are just so awesome.
We're chatty Cathy's. We're chatty Karens.
Yeah, we know how to talk.
Hey, talk it up.
You're trying to fill an hour with some nonsense.
Yeah, I thought this was going to be 2 hours, so I hope you guys are ready to
That's
go
okay.
overtime.
Hey, if you want us to go for 2 hours, we'll go 2 4 hours. That's totally fine with me. I prefer the long episodes, but I know people, I think reasonably an hour, a lot of people are more comfortable with that, so that's kind of why I just kind of set it at that marker.
Sure.
But if we go over, we go over. I'm not going to stop us at the juicy spots. You know what I'm saying?
And we're done.
And we're done.
Thank you guys.
And time's up.
Anyways, I want to get into how we met. I know we met in the fall of 2017 in South Korea, and we met in a hostel. Alec, do you guys remember the name of the hostel? Okay, was it? Eno. That's right. Eno's hostel. That's right. Oh God, I forget. Oh,
the dog's name was Eno.
That was named after his dog.
Yeah, the little white dog. Dude, that dog was so cool.
Yes, that's right. Oh, it was such a beautiful dog.
He didn't like getting photos. Every time I tried to take a photo of him, he pieced out. He's like,
I can send you some of my archival imagery of Eno.
Yes.
You got some?
Yes.
Oh, man.
I have some boomerangs.
Nice.
Oh, nice. There's
My
a.
first boomerangs.
Wait, like, did you get them there?
Yeah.
Oh wow, cool, awesome. The only thing I brought back was credit card debt, so and a few keychains.
Well, with as much as you guys are going to the bar,
Yeah, we were having a blast.
$20 in my bank account. It was awesome.
It was great.
Oh,
we all were suffering a little bit. We paid for that tattoo as well. So, and Mary had new eyeballs.
Oh yeah, how are your eyeballs?
Yes. Okay,
They're
talk about
so
that.
good.
Yeah.
Make sure you
my
get
God.
follow-up because
So we're there. I'm standing in the lobby, and Alex and I approached I think she was Dutch. I can't remember. She was Swedish or something. I don't really remember.
She was Dutch, I think.
I think she was
The
Dutch.
one
Yeah.
we had glass noodles with.
Yes. And I just thought, I was like, well, we've been here for a day. We haven't really done anything. We haven't found anything interesting. Every walk we took was just kind of boring. And I kind of seen her messing with a book that had a bunch of maps and stuff. And I can't remember her name. But I asked her, I was like, hey, do you know the area? I can't remember, but
it was something, it wasn't easy to say.
Right. And she gave me a map. She kind of marked it all out for us, and she told us everywhere to go. It was like her 3rd time in Korea or something. And she actually gave me her book. She gave me her travel book for Korea that had all of these notes and stuff in it, like where to go. So it was super good resource. Like the first week I was like, oh man, I was, capitalizing on all the cool spots that she had already found, and we just kind of walked followed those maps around for a bit. But I remember, I think you guys were checking in is when I asked you guys, or it was a day or two after you guys checked in, if you guys wanted to go get something to eat. But I think Mary had already got her eyeballs LASIK at that point.
I'm trying to remember the pinpoint exactly when we met. I feel like it was at one of the breakfasts because
I say breakfast too.
I say it was breakfast because you know how they had the breakfast and they always played the coolest music. They played the coolest music. I mean, it was the same thing every day. It was like, here's your juice and here's your toast.
Yes.
And it was fine. And then you would just and oatmeal and they would just play the greatest music. It was like the jazziest, most relaxed mornings ever. And then they would get into some like Drake and
hip hop.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was like jazz.
Yes.
And then it would be 11 a.m. hip hop. And then they would start cleaning.
Yep.
Gosh, that place was so cool. This hostel had a little lounge and like bar at the bottom of the hostel. Where you checked in is exactly where you paid for your drinks. That's the kind of hostel it was. We're like, are you here to check in or are you here to drink? You're like, both, you know.
Porque no los dos.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
And
she's my Spanish teacher.
I wish I spoke Spanish. I barely speak Spanish. I know. The funny thing is that I moved like 2 or 3 hours closer to like the Mexico border. So I just like, I don't even speak Spanish. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is
so embarrassing.
Yeah, it's embarrassing.
No, you shouldn't be embarrassed. No,
I'm not useful.
Don't. So Moon, you speak Spanish, yeah?
I understand Spanish pretty well. I don't speak it very well though.
Okay.
I speak it enough to get by.
Right. Yeah, I don't speak Spanish very well either. I grew up in Texas, so I was exposed to it a lot of it, and some of my best friends are like I went to Honduras this last winter with one of my best friends. I tried to learn Spanish for that, and so I did learn some, but again, it's like very situational. It's not helpful a lot of the time.
Yeah, I was like, if I ran into somebody that I wanted to purchase a ancient book from, I would know how to say that. You know, like that's the kind of Spanish I learned. Actually, Alex and I did that with the Korea trip. We actually started listening to a podcast called "Talk to Me in Korean." I think it was.
Yep.
And we listened to that for a good 6-7 months. Yeah, we listened to that for like 6-7 months before we went, and only thing I remember how to say is like I'm sorry and hello and thank you, because that was it. Yeah, kamsahamnida. That's all I remember.
I don't kamsahamnida, and I can still remember 안녕하세요.
Yeah, 안녕하세요.
안녕히계세요, because like that was something I thought was beautiful in the Korean language. Was like when you're leaving, when you're the person leaving, you say, peace be with you, and then like when you're staying, you say, when you're staying, you say peace be with you. When you're going, you say, like, stay peaceful or something. I don't remember exactly what the meaning, but there was two different. I like that.
That's right. Did you get a chance to go to any of the temples? Any of the temples here?
We did. We went to the temple in Seoul. I can't remember the name. And then we also we did a temple stay down on Jeju, on the island of Jeju.
That's right.
Yeah, I went to Busan, and Mary couldn't go because her eyeballs were still healing.
That's right.
Yeah. And
so you left your friend blind.
Order we're going to go in if there's any questions relating to this, but
yes.
That whole experience was hilarious. Mary was like actually Mr. Magoo, but like I felt like it was even more dangerous than that. But I will say though that other than the situational like safety of like walking into a road, getting surgery in Korea for whatever sort of, is a very affordable and safe way to do it.
Right.
I'm not trying to bash.
Oh, no. Exactly. South Korea is known for that. Like, South Korea is known for being advanced in like some of the medical procedures they do as far as like, cosmetic and certain things like that. So LASIK is like in like line with that, where it's, you find that all over LA. There's all these LASIK clinics all over the place. So, it's not far fetched. I imagine it was probably reasonably cheaper, so.
Yeah. Oh, significantly. Right, Mary? Yeah, it was, I think it was like a third of the cost.
Wow.
If I remember correctly.
That says a lot about American healthcare.
It really does. It really does. If you can, who's getting that money? Corporations?
I don't know. I have no idea.
I don't know. Someone tell me one day.
But yeah, why don't you talk? I mean, can you get into that a little, Mary, about your eye surgery? I thought that was...
Yeah, I would love to. So I at the time I was dating someone who has. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, sorry. I'm just amazed at the clarity of the audio.
Oh, really?
So yeah, it's really, really good. So sorry, my first time with Discord, it works amazing. So I was dating someone at the time before we left for South Korea, and he had traveled more extensively than I had. And about 3 months before I left, he was like, "Hey, have you thought about having your eyes done while you're in South Korea?" And I was like, "No, not at all." And I knew he had had his eyes done in Colombia, South America, when he was there. And he was like, "Yeah, you should look into it. South Korea is one of the world's largest elective surgery hubs in the world."
Right, yeah.
And so because of that, it's very competitively priced, and there's a lot of options for providers, and the way that their healthcare system works is different from ours, and allows it to be a little bit more accessible. So I did some quick research, and I reached out to a few different eye clinics. I don't know about you guys, but like when I was there, my experience, like I came away from it and I came home from South Korea and like kind of digested it. It really reminded me of the United States in the early to mid 90s, like the way the economy was like going really strong. Yes. And like people were incredibly dedicated to their work to the point where they were usually working Saturdays and only having time off on Sundays. And just like little things like that, and that kind of, I think, paired with the way their healthcare system worked, it was just like so easy to reach out to these clinics in Facebook. They had on Facebook, that was how I actually established contact with all of the clinics, because I vetted multiple clinics before I decided on who I was going to go with. And they had, the first time I went in there, they had someone who was a representative, like a customer service representative, who was like my advocate and who walked me through the clinic and answered any questions. And she was actually from Africa and very well spoken, and sort of explained the whole process and the cost. And I had like a 5-minute complimentary exam where they told me what I would be a good option for me and what the doctor would be capable of and what the cost would be. And I had always been told my whole life that LASIK was not ever going to be a good option for me because I had astigmatism in both eyes. And in America, usually you have to wait until you're like at least 45 or 50. Wow. They've gotten, some doctors have been more willing to do it at younger ages, but for the most part, they don't. And so they were like, "Yeah, we can do this service for you. Here are the stipulations. This is what we feel comfortable doing, how much it's going to cost." And I was like, okay, because I had never been told that I could get LASIK.
Yeah.
Or LASIK. And even if I had gotten it, it would have been somewhere between like $4,500 up to potentially $6,000 for both eyes. In South Korea, they quoted me and they were like, "We're really sorry, but because of the shape of your eyes, you are not a good candidate for this tier of surgery. So we're going to have to do this type of surgery, and this is how much it was going to cost." And it was like, she was really not upset, but she was really apologetic because it was going to cost more than their lowest tier. Mm-hmm. But I think it was like 1,500 or 1,400.
Wow. Oh my God.
Yeah, and it was actually PRK, which is a little bit different than LASIK, but the byproduct is the same. And it was funny because she's like, okay, so you want to go forward with that. And we also have an option to improve your night vision by doing X, Y, and Z. Is that something that you're interested in for like $100? And I was like, yeah. Like, it's my eyeballs. I'm definitely going to ball out on my, like,
oh my God.
That's not eyeball out. But, so yeah, it was a really rad experience. It was like, so in America, I feel like healthcare in general, eyes, dental, and like your whole body, it's kind of like going to a cafeteria and all the food is already made, and you go in there and they just kind of like, you pick what looks good to you, but it's all the same quality of food. When we went to South Korea, healthcare, it felt like I was going to like a high-end restaurant because I chose to go to a high-end restaurant. And I was told, like, okay, so, you can have the filet mignon, and it's going to cost this much. And if you would like a side of foie gras, it will be this much. And it just felt more like a tailored experience. And I made the decision because I was already going to go to South Korea, so there was no additional cost in going there. And the cost of having my eyes done was a quarter or less of what it would have been.
Wow.
And it's been 3 years now, and I'm sure my South Korean doctor would be like totally pissed to hear this, but I haven't been to an eye doctor since I got back, and my eyes are great.
I mean,
so,
if it works, don't fix it. If it's not broken, don't fix it.
If it's not broken, don't fix it. Yeah, they've been really, I will say one of the side effects is your eyes are really dry.
Yeah.
That was the issue in I was like, she was like a zombie. Her eyes were ridiculous, and she just wanted food brought to her. Yeah, she threw a straight temper tantrum.
She is the best friend anyone could ever ask for, because she like led me through the streets of Seoul. I'm like trying to walk into cars and stuff. I'm not gonna lie, I brought a bottle of Valium with me from the United States, and I took like,
I didn't know that. No wonder.
The day before the appointment, I took like 10 to 20 milligrams of Valium because I was like, oh, this is going to be awful. I'm like freaked out about eyeballs. And then the day of, I took some, and then afterwards too. So after surgery, I slept for like 3 days.
Is that why? I thought the pain in your eyes was that bad. Now I don't even feel bad for you. Now I don't feel bad for you. That's hilarious. All of that for nothing. No, she's like, bring me fried chicken and rice.
Yeah.
I wasn't even that good of a friend.
So funny.
I would just check on you every 6 hours, like, you alive? Everything.
Literally, she did all I could ever want is someone being like, here's some food. I'm flying to Busan today.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So it was really nice, though, because we had in the last night we were in Seoul together at Eno, we got a room by ourselves.
That was really nice.
And I was like, I can be here in the dark for 2 days and no one will know.
Oh my God. I felt bad. We were in a bunk room. There was 8 bunks in our room, okay? We had these tiny little ship bunk beds for like a ship somewhere, right? And people were right on top of each other. There was this the Dutch girl was across from me and Alex were on the bottom bunks of the first 2 beds. Then there was this guy who was just like rat packing his little bunk, and he had like tons of trash and food in there. And so we're in there. I kid you not.
You never do a co-ed dorm unless you want that.
Yeah, it was a dorm. Yeah, so it was cheap. It was cheap, but whatever. I got to backpack, some of Korea, which was fun.
Yeah.
But it was funny because it was one night me and Alex are there, and we're just hanging out in our bunks, and then we hear somebody fart. They open up the curtain, and the Dutch girl across the way, she's looking at me. She goes, like, she kind of like waved, like motion, like, nah, it wasn't me. And she points to the guy next to her who's the pack rat who had a bunch of trash in our room. Our room smelled like pizza and like feet. It was terrible, man. This guy.
Oh, no.
Yes. He was such a trash person. I was like, oh my God, please leave.
A trash person. That's an interesting term that I feel like is recent in my life, because and I've been using it for like all kinds of things. Like that's a trash person. That's someone that has trash around them all the time. And
Physically, yeah.
Physically.
Yeah.
I feel like it was actually the Dutch girl who farted.
No,
maybe it was. But
I feel like she'd
so
own up.
funny.
I feel like she would have owned up to it. Dutch people are incredibly honest.
Yeah,
That's
she was
true.
really nice and stuff like that. And I mean, by the time she left, like whatever, like if it was her, then whatever, But the guy next to her for sure was guilty of something because his bunks was just a mess. It was terrible.
Right. Yeah.
It was funny because it
love.
was so.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say that we met a Dutch girl later in the trip as well. Remember I think it was in Jeju because she did the temple stay with us. She was also Dutch. And she was even more honest, or like, I shouldn't say honest, but like direct. Because when you travel, you find that there are like little, like really subtle differences in communication between different, I don't even want to say cultures because I mean like we're all like the Dutch and the U.S. are both kind of considered part of this like Western colonial influence culture, but very subtle differences. And there was like the direct, just, I hate this, you're like, oh, okay. Or I
really hate it when a Korean monk shouts at me and asks me to come to dinner.
You do a really good
God.
Schwarzenegger.
Sorry, I turned into Schwarzenegger.
That's funny. So I know. And then did you get a tattoo? Is that right? You got a tattoo while you were in Korea?
Yes.
You guys both did. Oh, wow. Cool. I didn't know that was part of the story.
Honestly, I totally screwed up because if I had been a smarty, I would have got a matchy tattoo with Alyssa Murphy.
She wanted to copy my vibe later, and I was like, dude, no, you got nah, bro. I'm glad you didn't. I'm glad that you're jelly. I'm glad you're jelly, but no. So this is I got. God. You can Mary, tell them what you got, and then I'll tell them what I got, and they'll see that yours is cooler.
I got a dragon.
Nice.
Awesome.
Was it?
But I'm just kidding. It's on her butt.
I got a dragon because I had like plans to do this other thing, and then when we did the temple stay, we went to this one temple that had like a dragon on the door, a Buddhist temple, and the dragon was so cool. Like it's a really cool tattoo, and he did a great job. He did an amazing job. PETA from. Do you remember the name of the studio? He has his own studio now.
We highly recommend him. We should.
Yeah, we'll give a shout out
for
sure.
But he did it, and her dragon turned out amazing.
It's gorgeous, but it was really funny because it's like it was a Buddhist dragon, so it had like an herbivore's teeth, so all of the teeth were like flat.
Nice.
Like
he wasn't an intimidating dragon. He was a friendly.
And I'm
guy.
like, I want this, and he's like, no. And he put like these big sharp teeth because his granddad was a Buddhist, like a very a conservative practicing Buddhist who observed all of the Buddhist strictures, and he's like I can see you, and you do not get this dragon because this dragon is like specifically for very strict Buddhists.
Oh wow!
And I was like, okay, fair enough. You're right.
Yeah,
I eat. I'm not a vegetarian, so I'm gonna look up his name real quick.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. Let us know. Let us know his Instagram.
Kim. He's amazing.
Very amazing. Yeah, I got a mandala on my elbow.
You can show that.
Yeah, I got it. So I only have two tattoos. Good. I have one on the inside of my arm.
You only have two tattoos? How do I not believe that? Wow.
I know. Well, there are two. It's one, but it's like one on the inside here and one on the inside here.
Yeah.
Sorry, I gave blood today, so that's why that's there.
Nice.
And then, but I just got a mandala on my elbow.
Look at that.
No, it doesn't even look cool.
It's
beautiful.
Really fit her steez.
But I don't know why I always had a thing with the elbow. I think I go for like whatever the most uncomfortable thing is. I'm just gonna just lean into that. Really aggressive.
I did a mom tattoo on my chest, and that was the one that hurt the most. The typical one,
really?
over the heart.
MOM?
Yeah, mom with the heart with the arrow through it. Yeah, like yes, like the cheesy mom one.
The cheesy one,
for sure,
that's good.
For sure. Yeah.
How did your mom feel about it?
Oh my god, she cried. She hated it. She's like, why wouldn't you do it? My mom, she's a conservative Hispanic woman, so you know kind of stuff. It struck her heart.
What's your name?
Patricia. My mom's name is Patricia.
Oh,
She's got a pretty white name actually. It's Patricia Elaine. That's my mom's name.
Wow, no wonder you don't speak Spanish.
Yeah, well, that's how I ended up with Zach as a name. So you know that didn't apple didn't fall far from the tree. So, but yeah, no, my mom, she cried the first time I got a tattoo, and then this one was just kind of like, you know, I don't agree with it, son, but you know, I love you. That kind of sentiment. That's my mom's kind of thing with tattoos, but she loves me, so she'll never hate on me for getting them, you know. But
I don't know if you know this, but tattoos they were when we were in South Korea illegal.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so
I'm sorry, they were
gotta be underground.
Oh, in Korea?
Yeah.
I feel way
You didn't know that?
cooler. Did not know that. So, Mary, this is how Mary incited me into going into South Korea, because basically she's very much into she keeps her pulse on things, and I don't. And she was like, "Hey, come to South Korea with me," and I was like, "Okay, we're gonna get tattoos." Okay, and so that's how all that happened. I had no idea I was actually participating in an illegal activity. That's great.
So Murph is now like an illegal activist.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was like illegal, and it still is. And so, I mean, I feel like I have to be careful in saying certain things. But his studio is Mizangwan in Seoul, and his name is Pita Kim. So if anyone is interested in the art that we're talking about, you can look him up on Instagram. Pita Kim, which is PITTA _KKM.
I'm sorry. Wait, can you repeat that one more time? Like just all the way through? I'm sorry. I couldn't.
Yep. Pita Kim. So it's PITTA _KKM. And you can look up his artwork.
Cool. Awesome.
And like where his studio is. And so the reason I brought that up is like a lot of tattoo artists have their stuff on Instagram, like their art and who they work with, and you can see what kind of art they do. Mm-hmm. But sometimes you'll find the studio address and it can be difficult to find because it won't be like broadly labeled. It's kind of like an unlabeled, like it'll be an unlabeled upstairs or something.
What was the name of that part of town that we went to get our tattoo in? That was the best part. I love that about Seoul, is that there were all these different neighborhoods, and each neighborhood and district had different things. You know, A21 was for partying, and we were in, what was the train stop that we would always get off in?
We were near the girls' school, which was...
Do you remember the train stop we got off in to go to our hostel? To get to,
I don't remember the name.
Hyundai or Hongeek. Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
I was trying to think of that earlier and I couldn't. Thanks, guys.
And there was an all-girls university stop up from us.
That's right. I remember that.
Then you have... Oh, man.
Yeah.
We ended up finding... So when we went to get our tattoo, it was like really close to the end of the trip. And
we almost missed our flight out, actually.
Oh, my gosh. Nice. That's a story. Remember?
Yeah, well, I remember. It was pretty terrifying. I can't even pretend like it wasn't anything but my fault, because I think I was the last one to get the tattoo. I needed to stop by the pharmacy to get some like A&D ointment.
Yeah.
And then we like get on the train, and it takes way longer to get there than we thought it did to the airport.
Yeah.
And then when we check in, the lady at the front is like,
"Oh,"
she was like, "We're coming to get you." Yeah,
like there's gonna be someone who's gonna meet you.
And she made us, and then she pulled us. She took us to where we needed to go. And when we got on the elevator, she looked at us deeply in the eyes, and she was like,
said,
"When these elevator doors open, run."
And we were like, but seriously, it was really funny because you know how South Korean women are? Like, they are perfect.
Yes.
Like their faces are perfectly made up. Like
Yeah.
you've seen them on the trains. They have an hour and a half to get wherever they're going. So they literally are like, their skin has been prepared for the day. And then they get on the train and they sit there for an hour and a half and do their makeup, and they look flawless. So this woman was like wearing her heels and her stockings and her little tiny skirt and suit jacket, and her makeup was all perfect. And she like intercepted us because, like Murphy said, we got to to get our ticket. We checked in, and they're like, "Oh, it's you two. We've been waiting for you two. Someone's going to intercept you and get you to your gate." And we're like, "Oh, okay, that's a little different." But so then we're like in the process of getting there as quickly as we can, and this woman meets us, and she looks, like I said, flawless. And she starts asking us the customs questions. And I like really quickly catch on to what's going on. And I'm like, oh crap, we're like really late. We're being rushed through the international, like the border situation.
Yeah.
And Murphy's like, listen, lady, we're running late. Why are you trying to ask us all these questions? I'm like, Murphy, she's actually the border agent. Like,
oh my God.
It was so funny. But yeah, and then she did.
I didn't say that to her. I said it to Mary.
She was like,
what the heck? We gotta get out of here. Like, she's trying to talk to us. We don't have time for this.
I have a sixth sense for authority. Like authority figures, I automatically key into it before most other people do. So I'm like, I should automatically respect her. So I'm like, Herbie, she's the authority. But
which I just contest to this just a slightly. I don't know if you've ever tried to tell Mary May what to do ever, but it doesn't work. And especially when you're trying to keep her safe out of walking into a car or whatever when she's blind because she's just had LASIK surgery and is hungry and has decided that she's going to just walk into the next structure.
That is true. That is absolutely true. But when I realize it's the kind of situation I have to be deferential to the person in power, I usually automatically turn into a huge suck up.
Yeah.
So we answered all her questions on the elevator, and then she does that thing where she's like, "Run!" And we're like, so it was crazy.
Yeah.
But it was also really nice because in most other places, I think that they would just be like, hey, you missed your flight.
Yeah.
You have to buy, another $700 ticket back to the United States or whatever. So.
Where'd you guys land? Where'd you guys land? Frisco or Seattle?
Was it Seattle?
I want to say it was Seattle.
Yeah. Most flights out of Alaska, in and out of Alaska, you cannot avoid going to Seattle or Portland.
Which is great because Seattle is, it gives you a nice little city to stop in.
Yeah.
Walk around so you don't get the deep vein thrombosis or whatever.
I know, jeez. I'm going to get that being on this COVID lockdown, jeez.
I know. Dude, sitting is the new smoking, okay? I was talking to my friend about it. Someone, like the office assistant or everything, said, hey, sitting is the new smoking, and that's why she wanted a stand-up desk. That was her justification. We're like, okay, that's kind of weird. And then when I went on a trip to New Zealand, it was like a 6-hour flight followed by like an 8-hour flight. And when my friend and I got off the 6-hour flight, we were like, okay, we're not sitting down for this whole layover, this whole 2-hour layover, no sitting, because we have an 8-hour flight after that.
Yeah.
30 minutes into us standing, we're like, oh my gosh, I just want to sit. We're like, it is the new smoking. This is crazy.
I know. I think, I've just, walking the dog as much as I can, hopefully getting some exercise from that, trying to stay active during this weird situation that we're all in, some of us are all in it. Some of us, still able to stay active a little bit, but here in SoCal, you can't be as, just can't be out. There's just too many people, and we're a hot zone here in Riverside County. So it's weird. It's kind of scary because some of the stuff that I see, I'm just like, you guys probably should not be out here, man. But then I don't want to be a Karen. So I'm just like, I'll just shut up and go to my house and stay inside.
Right. I understand that.
2020 is a bad year to be a Karen.
Tell me about it. Oh my goodness. So I was going to ask you guys.
Is your middle name Karen?
Is what?
Zachary Karen Hernandez?
No. No. Oh man, I would probably really hate myself if that was my. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. Anyways, I was gonna ask you guys, what was your? Do you remember there was a night where we actually spent the night hanging out in Etiwan? Okay, and this is like the party part of town. It's near. You know, it's like there's supposed to be clubs and stuff there. You remember that, Alex?
Yeah.
And there was one night where we had the group of our hostel mates, right? We had everybody that we could try to get to like just go hang out together. One like huge like, no, one just huge group of people. And I think the four of us were like the last people standing in that group of people that just went to.
I didn't go with you guys. That was you and Murphy.
No, wait, who else was there though? I thought somebody else was there. No?
There was the Argentinian babes were there.
Oh wait, no, you're talking about the
Chilean. They were
Chilean.
Chilean.
Yeah. But do you remember there was
by the way,
what about Club? Was it Club Thug, Club Hug, or something like that? Club.
Thug Love. No, Fug. Fug is like
Fug. Yes.
Life.
Yeah, Fug Life.
Fug.
Yes.
We danced. That was a really good time. Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, but before that, because I will say my best memory, like the most heartfelt memory from that entire trip, was that night before we went to Fug Life Club, and that was we were at whatever club was like kind of the starter club. There were blue lights, there was house music or whatever playing, and you guys had introduced us to AMFs. And I went, and I won't say what that is. You can say it, but I'm not gonna say it. And I was like, sweet, this is great. And we were probably on like our third round. And then I don't know if you remember this, but I just jet upstairs, like I'm like, oh no, because the bathroom was upstairs, and shortly before that, third shot, I had gone to the restroom, and then I had realized when I was going to pay for this shot that I had left my wallet and phone on the back of the toilet, like a drunk, stupid person. And
oh my God.
So, and I said that, I was like, I left my wallet, and I ran upstairs, and I could hear you guys saying, it's gone. Like in the background, you guys were like, it's gone forever.
No.
Like, and I was like, I just knew it was going to be gone. I was like, this is going to be the moment where I'm stuck in Korea forever. It had my driver's license. It had everything, total learning moment here. And so I run upstairs. I go into the toilet that I was in, and it's not there. And I was like, yep, that's what I thought. Life is over. Okay. And then I come out, and just for some reason, I decide to go into the bar that is adjacent to the bathroom, and it's a much classier bar. It's quiet. It's, looks like something that Ron Burgundy would be at. And the lady looks at me. I walk in, and she looks at me and said, did you leave a wallet in the bathroom? And I said, yes. And she looked at the ID, and she gave it to me, and she gave me my wallet and my phone. Someone had gone to the restroom and then brought it into that adjacent bar, and something told me to check in there, and I did, and I'm so grateful. Yeah, and that's when it is the most safe country. I would move to Seoul in a heartbeat.
That's why I love Korea, because it felt really safe. Like you could just walk around at like 4 or 5 in the morning by yourself and not worry about anyone messing with you.
Yeah,
it was really cool. And then there was always people around all the time. It didn't matter what time of the day. There was people hanging out at like cafes and stuff all night. So
yeah, and there was so much going on, and it wasn't all partying. You know what I mean? Obviously, Itaewon and like certain areas were, but like there were a lot of interesting things to do. We went to the most amazing tea shop I've ever been to in my life.
That's right. And then
there was
telling about that.
Yeah, there was a lot of historical stuff. I mean, there was a lot going on, and I would say actually the worst part about the only thing I didn't like about Seoul was how terrible the sewers smelled. Like when you would stand on the sidewalk and you would be anywhere near a sewer grate, it was like actual death was penetrating from the ground.
The funny thing is, like, we were there long enough to see the trash cycle happen at the building at the hostel. Like, we were there for like 3 weeks, and we seen it happen. Like, I was like, this isn't necessarily, like, I think it's first world problems for us. Maybe we're used to certain amenities. The strange thing is, I actually seen a squatting toilet inside of a restroom, like in a weird mall. Which was really interesting because I'd never, being a Westerner, you don't expect to end up walking up on a squatting toilet. And so it was like a real reality check for me. And I was like, Alex, I think we should just keep moving, bud. Let's just keep going. So yeah, it was just it was tough. But the thing is, like, one thing for me and Alex I know was hard is like we're large men, so we're like, I'm 6'1", he's 6'4", so
you guys did definitely stand out in the crowd.
Yes,
for sure.
Did. We stood out like a sore thumb. I'm really dark. I even had a boy approach me and asked if there was something, like he was perplexed with my skin color because I was so dark, so it was weird, strange thing to actually deal with.
Perplexed, he's confused by it.
Yes, exactly.
I don't understand your pigmentation.
We were on the subway together and he walks up to me and he goes, "Your skin color, I am perplexed." That's it. That's all I said.
Do you remember all the weird clothes that people would wear that would have they would say things in English that made zero sense?
It was all fake like Supreme and Gucci stuff. Oh my
gosh. And I think, didn't we go to Gangnam together? Like we went to some sort of richier, shoppy area, and the train was super crowded, and I remember getting, like, that was the only time I felt like actually claustrophobic. Because in Alaska, you just don't have experiences like that, where you're jammed on a train with people that you're, like, literally touching their bodies because there's no extra space. And there was this older Korean lady who you always respect the elder generation. They always sit down. Like, if there's a situation where you're sitting and they're standing, then you're doing something wrong. And there was this older lady who was, like, really aggressively picking her nose. And then she touched me and was like, "Oh, sit down." And I was like, "No."
No, I'm good.
I'm good. I wonder how she's doing in this pandemic. I wonder.
Right? Gosh. Well, from what I heard is that South Korea did a pretty good job of, like, tracking everybody. They employed some kind of, like, cell phone tracking system, I think. They're supposed to be like one of the most, like, high tech, like, telecommunication places in the world. So,
did you guys get to? I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you ever get to take advantage of the national? They have like a national Groupon type deal.
No.
Oh, it's an app. Yeah, it's an app, and you can't pay. There's a lot of things you can't pay for unless you have that app. But it's only in Korean.
You two cut it out.
Sorry, those are our dogs that are playing.
Well, actually, I think I might have done something because I had to buy League of Legends tickets last time I went last year.
You lucky.
I went back. I want to go back again.
Oh my God!
Will you let me know?
Another country.
No, Alex, let me know and I'll go with you because we don't have to go together, but I want to go simultaneously so that at least know one person in the entire country.
Relive the magic. Oh man, those are just fun nights. It was just a good time.
I want all of us to go back.
I feel like.
But wait, that app is the shiznit because we went out with
a local,
and she got us. We got
massages.
3 Thai massages that were like it was like 2 hours long, and they were like 60 or 70% off.
Wow.
What was it, Murphy? We ended up getting like Thai massages for $20, and it was a 2-hour long massage.
Wow.
$10 an hour.
And it was. I'm pretty sure that it was after midnight too,
wow.
which may or may not be a requirement for you.
We stayed in Itaewon, Alex and I, and we stayed literally a block away from the red light district that's there in Itaewon, and we had no idea. Like one night I was.
So is that? What's on the menu?
At the red light district?
Yeah.
Mostly trans.
It's mostly transvestites, and it's been taken over a lot. And it's crazy because I was taken there once because I was like, "Where's this red light district at?"
Right.
And yeah, it's a lot. Like there's just little it's like a whole row, like a road that goes upwards. So like the whole thing is a bunch of like tranny bars, which are basically like prostitute bars, right? Mm-hmm. So their own personal bars, and then you can see the women coming out. You see the women coming out and try to like lure you in. I was like, "Whoa, this is crazy!" Like the person I was with, she like asked me if I'm used to trannies. Like I'm from basically Bay Area, so yeah, I have a lot of family friends that cross dress and do the, that type of stuff. So I'm just not used to how open the prostitution is.
Yeah.
So it was a little intense because I remember I saw like a cop like going up with this little cute. You know how the cops in Korea have the cute little vests?
Very like.
Yes. Walking up.
And they have like a little white band, like
yes, a little band. They look like little cross guards.
I'm a safety officer.
Yes,
it's crazy. It was cute, and so like one of the ladies was talking.
Did I scare you guys away?
And it turns out like he's a regular. So it's pretty wild.
Yeah, I there was one night too. I remember we had an encounter with a police officer, a Korean police officer. He somebody in our
it just like totally dropped. Video connected. Yeah.
You never told me that.
Oh,
this is like a huge.
I'm telling you now. She's very smart, dude.
Oh my gosh.
My dog impresses me like that too, and he was like a runt, I guess, of his family. But when I actually got him, he was given to me. I fixed a guitar, and they were like, give me him as like, payment. And he was with a bunch of Chihuahuas, and he was just kind of bigger, and I was like, you're not a Chihuahua. Yeah. And it turned out he was like he's this weird hybrid between like Beagle, German Shepherd, and so he's just this cool looking like small beagle shaped German Shepherd. It's really strange, but everybody looks at him, they're like, what is he? So
can you roll that beautiful bean footage?
Yeah, do you have any baby footage?
Do I have any of his baby footage?
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, just what he looks like now. He is to us as
well.
Can you just like point your laptop in his direction?
Oh wait. Oh yeah. Let me see if I get him over here. Come here, buddy.
Sorry, we're being.
Is his name Brussels Sprout?
It's Russell.
Brussels Sprout. BS.
Come here, son. That's what I call my son. So where's he at? Come here.
Yeah.
Oscar's coming.
Come here.
Yeah, baby. You charming devil.
There he is.
Oh! Look at those ears! Oh my goodness.
He's a little ham. He's a ham. He gets all actually he just got sponsored. He just got sponsored on Instagram. So yeah,
Sponsored?
Yeah, because
oh my goodness.
What does that even mean?
Yeah, I don't know what that. So did you get free toilet paper or like dog food?
Biscuits?
So right now the way the deal works is that any product that he wears from the boutique that is going to sponsor him, they'll give him a coupon code, which whoever chooses to buy a product or they see his coupon code and they use that, they'll get like 15% off, but he'll get 15% of the proceed that they pay for whatever they use and buy in the store. So,
nice.
Yeah.
So how does he make his money to buy these clothes?
Yes. To buy his clothes, to buy his toy. He's spoiled. He has every toy in the book,
But it sounds like it. If he's sponsored, yes. Oh man. But you know what though? I would say he's doing the work.
He is doing the work.
To get that stuff. So like he deserves that stuff because he's out there. He's on the streets.
Yes.
He's making money off that face,
Yes, he is.
That's him.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely selling that little cute little smile of his, because everybody when they see him they're like, oh my god, what is he? And I'm just like, you know what? I'm gonna put him on Instagram. It took a year, but he got it. So
he blew up.
He blew up. But no, yeah. I just kind of, I don't know if I'm gonna do it yet, but they already reached out to us and stuff, and so I was like, oh, I'll think about it. Because then at the end of the day, I kind of feel bad because I'm like, I don't want to exploit my dog, but he is super cute, and if he can pay for his own dog food.
If it was you, how would you feel about it? Because then you'll know whether it's exploitation or not. Because I consider him getting a job.
Yeah,
that's what I consider.
He's a working boy. He's a working dog. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I keep asking Zephyr. I'm like, when are you going to get a job? When are you going to contribute to this family?
Did you just say your dog's name is Zephyr right now?
Yeah, do you know what that means? Everyone's like, what is a Zephyr?
I know what it means. It means,
man.
I think it's a calm breath, I believe.
It's a calm wind, like a westerly wind. It's actually from the Greek god Zephyros, which is the god of the western wind. So it's like it's to be specific and ridiculous, it's actually like a calm, warm breeze from the west in the northern latitudes.
Wow.
Sometime around the summer solstice. But in common vernacular, it's just like a warm breeze, a warm, gentle breeze.
That's funny.
That was really ridiculous and pretentious of me.
No, it's cool. It's cool.
But that was the first word I learned as a kid that I was like, that's a cool word. And so it just stuck with me. They look at me funny when I say it. So for you to have been like, like a big giant smile was really nice. That was the first time that's happened.
Yeah, no, I really like the name now. Hey, what's up, dude? We got Moon back on the line.
Moon.
Welcome to Love Line, Moon.
New Moon.
No, I'm just kidding.
I actually, like, regardless of whether we're recording or not, I would actually like to know the answer to Mary's question before you guys' O-face was frozen in time and the whole thing stopped.
What was the question?
Was your name Moon because of the Korean aspect, or?
Oh, no. I always had like a really cool fascination with the moon since I was little. So
what's your zodiac sign, if you don't mind me asking?
I think I'm a Sagittarius.
I'm an Aquarius.
You're an Aquarius. Okay, I'm a Cancer, and they are like the moon. That's why I say that, because the moon is a big deal in my life. So that's why I was curious. I was like,
I'm a Cancer. I was born in July.
You were born in July?
Mm-hmm.
Then you're definitely a Cancer,
God.
bro. That's not true. You could be a Leo also.
I identify as an Aquarius.
Oh my god. I don't know.
Okay.
Yes.
No, I'm kidding. I get it.
Yeah.
I don't think
that's a whole nother like radio topic, zodiac signs. Don't get Mary started. Don't get me started.
Hey, I was gonna ask.
Mine's the crab. Mine's the crab boy. That's what my
crab boy. Yeah, Cancer. What's up?
I was gonna ask. What do you do in Alaska? Because I remember,
like, for work?
Yeah, I remember you mentioning something about like the state or something. I can't remember exactly. Recall.
Are we live?
Oh wow.
Yeah,
we
are recording.
Yeah, we're recording. You don't have to like say. You don't give me no details or anything like that. But like, what's experience? Yeah. Like,
oh my, no, I'm an open book. No, I'm an environmental specialist with the state of Alaska. Wow. Simply put, which I mean that sounds cooler than what it is. I mostly like go out on field visits, review reports, make sure people are cleaning up oil spills appropriately, make sure people are preventing oil spills, especially oil companies who are known to spill things regularly. But we also do like vessel groundings and, car accidents, tank truck rollovers, just all kinds of things. I mean, that's actually why I've stayed. This is the longest I've stayed with a position by choice. That sounds really, but because it's different all the time. And because I'm not only, am I in a place where I feel like there's still a chance to really save the environment and protect it, but also there's a lot of flexibility because I work in a small office, like in a field office. Soldotna is a field office from the main central offices. So like it's like a remote area.
Yeah. Like a forward operating base out in the middle of nowhere.
I love that you just said forward operating base. Have you taken ICS 300 or 400? Is that what what are you doing? What do you do?
The sad thing is that I play Minecraft, and this is something that Alex and I have. This is a lingo that we created. All of our we make these little maps and stuff, and so on the maps, the way they're logoed, there's little outposts, and the outposts we call them forward operating bases because we're discovering new areas on the maps. So the furthest point away from base we call forward operating base.
Forward operating base. No, it's a realistic thing and you can apply it to so many genres of your life. A forward operating,
spot.
We'll say base, but yeah, you could do it in even in a mental space, like a forward operating thought or
No, I get you. I feel. I'm vibing with you. I get you. the weird. Okay, so you work in like in the environmental and stuff like that. What are the odds that you see like some amazing wildlife out there? Because I feel like that's like probably something that people think about. Like we're out in Alaska, you'd imagine to see a ton of wildlife.
Right. I've seen lots of bears, wow. And then like you see like wolverines, wolves. Yeah, I got to see a wolverine, but it wasn't actually on the job. That was a side deal. Okay. So I was on the Seward Highway, and it was this, like, it was about the size of a dog, but it looked like a skunk. It looked like a skunk, and it ran with its, yeah. And the person who said it was a wolverine, but it was probably, it's hard to say because it was like maybe 100 feet in front of me. Like scampering across the road.
Wow.
And it was close to Seward, yeah. And then but I don't get to see things like polar bears. I've never seen a polar bear. People that the unit, there's only like 10 left. No. Well, and I'm based out of we're a coastal region. So if this is Alaska, this is the state of Alaska, we're like right here in this little
cove
right
area, yeah.
Little cove here. So
we're a peninsula like Korea.
Yeah.
There you go.
Probably about the same size.
Wow.
Oh, probably. So, polar bears are up north in the tundra, and we don't get to go up there very often. That is literally 1,000 miles away. So,
jeez,
we don't see that stuff. So.
And Mary, what about you? What kind of work do you do in Alaska? If you don't mind asking, or me asking.
I manage a dental practice.
Oh wow, cool. Awesome.
She keeps my teeth there.
Look how beautiful they are.
That's not true. I'm getting Invisalign because of her, actually. Not because being in with her assistance.
Yeah.
Some guidance and nurturing.
So sorry, my dog just decided to do conversation. Oh, hello, baby.
This is definitely
sorry. The people on the podcast will be able to see that happening.
No, it's not video. It's just audio. It's just all audio
Australian
based.
Shepherd Doodle Nick.
Wow.
He weighs 22 pounds and is all muscle and unneutered.
Oh my gosh.
I was gonna say uncut, but that's just probably too dirty. No, I manage a dental practice.
Cool. Awesome. And I think a lot of times, like for me, like I imagine everybody's on the Discovery Channel out there, like hauling wood. Oh, you guys can't hear me?
Off.
Can you guys hear me now?
Go away, cutie.
Yeah, you are cutie. Okay. Well, that's a bummer. God damn it, dude.
It might be the video.
Maybe we just.
All right, we are back. A few little mishaps happened with our connection. This is a long distance call. We're calling from. I'm in California, Southern California, and you guys are all the way in Alaska, and we're doing this online. So, I expected this to happen, and but we're rolling with the punches, so it's all good. Anyways, yeah, let's I kind of wanted to switch gears here real quick. I know we talked about a lot of fun, interesting things. We got into our Korea trip and stuff, and we talked about Alaska a little bit. But I wanted to switch gears here, and but I wanted to give you the opportunity to share with us information in regards to women's rights and feminism in Alaska. And I think this is for me, it's a important story to hear and to listen to because, I have an opportunity to ask the questions. And I think, if you guys are so gracious enough to share your answers and share your thoughts, and I really appreciate that. So, I kind of want to get into that. Are you guys cool with that, or?
We would hate to talk about women's rights.
Oh my gosh! Thank you so much. Thank you so much for doing this part of the podcast with us.
Can I ask what prompted you to steer the conversation in this direction?
Yeah, after my Korea trip, I met my my wife, because as you know, Alex and I we were trying to try Tinder out in South Korea, and I didn't get any single.
I was gonna say maybe we should try your phone because
That is funny. That is funny.
It's really like that. You don't miss crowds and the lower 48 and all the hassles that come with urban life until you are trying to do a podcast and the internet craps out on you 4 times in a row. So,
right. So, I mean, I think it's a cool thing that we're bringing this message back from Alaska and be able to share it with the lower 48. So, but I want to follow up your question, Mary. You'd said what kind of prompted me to steer the conversation here, and I just want to say, like, when Alex and I were in Korea, I had tried Tinder with him, and we were just having a fun time. Single guys, what do you expect from us? And nothing happened for me. But when I came home, I still used my Tinder app for like a week, and the first person to respond to me was my wife. And that was the first and only person I ever met from Tinder, and we kicked it up, we hit it off, and then we became best friends, and now we're married. But my wife has actually kind of talked to me about it a bit and bring it up and sort of kind of probe the discussions. And I think maybe 2 years ago I wasn't necessarily interested in really hearing or even getting into it, but I think over the last year and a half, some of the things that she has raised awareness in my, understanding about, I think is necessary to continue to try and further that. Not just, in my own life, but hopefully through this podcast, we can continue that message. And, like I said, my wife really was the influence in that, because before it was a little different, maybe I wouldn't have listened to it. Maybe I was just a young, dumb single guy, but I think now it's, I'm trying to consider as many, people's stories as possible and try to enlighten my perspective and try to humanize that perspective, because a lot of times we dehumanize a subject because we have preconceived ideas about it, and I think that's the way it is with feminism and women's rights. And so I kind of wanted to hopefully maybe remove some of those barriers, have a conversation, and provide some sort of productive way forward, hopefully.
So what I'm hearing is, sorry.
It's all good. Don't worry about it. The audio, we can fix that. I'll fix it right now. All right, cool. We're good.
So what I'm hearing is that you're kind of new to the conversation about feminism or being a feminist.
Yes, I definitely say I'm relatively new to the idea of feminism and stuff like that. My wife has obviously, talked to me about it and has shared her thoughts, and I want to be as I don't really know how to say it, but like there's sometimes I think our social conditionings, we have these ideas and we're not able to view certain things a different way because of how long we've thought of it a particular way. And so I think my wife has done a really good job of helping me maybe considering a different perspective, and this is sort of me exploring that, and wanting to enlighten my perspective of it and wanting to
in the way that I'm so sorry. I should have.
No. Great. Please. I talk way too much, but I think you guys are the professionals about the subject, and in considering I'm the other person that's in the microphone right now. So, but that's kind of like the reason why I wanted to speak with you, and especially because it's Alaska. This is a story that I don't think has necessarily been spoken about, or maybe is even heard about in the lower 48 in regards to women's rights and feminism in Alaska. So I couldn't honestly think of a better question to ask you guys if you guys would be, willing to handle this question, because it's just, I think it's necessary, and I think people would gain knowledge from it that would help us.
Right. No, absolutely. What I'm hearing from all of that is that your wife is a lovely lady and you are a lovely person for being open and accepting to new ideas, or at least recognizing that there are ideas that your, not, I shouldn't even say ideas, but like the concept of living in another person's shoes and considering what it's like to be put on this planet in a different body and a different situation, and knowing that you can't really know what that's like without actually being in that situation. And just being aware of that, I think, is a huge thing. And if everybody did that, then I think a lot of things would be different. So, but the relation, it was interesting that you made the comment about the relationship between feminism and Alaska, because there's actually like a pretty common bumper sticker here that's like, women, how does it go, Mary? Like, women in Alaska become
the men that they wanted to marry.
Wow.
Which is something like, I don't know, I strongly stand beside, instead of like trying to marry the ideals that you see, become what you desire.
Yeah, fill that gap yourself, you know, and I think like that goes both ways, I think, for both genders. I think a lot of it is just equalizing what you can, and recognizing that there are differences, and that doesn't necessarily mean that one is lesser than the other, you know, and that everyone should be paid the same for the same amount of work. So
We're telling about it, right?
Which doesn't happen like
Right.
in Alaska or across most of the United States.
And I will say it's actually interesting because there's a lot of, so up here, there are a lot of like construction type jobs, or like I don't even want to say laborer jobs, because they're actually very specific, like, you know, engineering operator type things. And one of my friends was
I'm sorry. One second.
that was just saying that my friend is a female, was the first female operator in Alaska for a power plant up here.
Wow.
And so, yeah, I just think
Maybe
you're
you
more
should
common
say
to
what
see
an
that up here.
operator is. What
Yeah, an operator. So essentially like a technician on a power plant working on turbines.
Wow.
And different things like that. So
managing mechanical engineering
exactly.
issues.
Exactly.
Operating the equipment.
Wow. That's awesome. You know,
so I just think it's more like, maybe it's more common, or at least per capita up here, it's more common. You know, you'll find just in general a lot of self-sufficient minded people.
Yeah, so that reminds me, I was watching the Discovery Channel again. I'm so sorry. I know, like, I guess Alaska and
I love the Discovery Channel.
Okay, well,
you don't have to qualify.
Cool. All right. So the Discovery Channel, I always see these people out in like the woods doing these crazy things and stuff. But there was a show I was watching, and there was an elderly couple, and they were trying to give away their plot of land to a younger couple. And there was a moment where the gentleman said, in Alaska, you can't be sexist because every pair of hands is a pair of hands. And at some point you have to recognize that survival is based on how we can work together, not how we can, you know, see differences in each other. And I never thought that before, but I think Alaska, like that show, I heard that and I was like, wow, that's a crazy thought. Do you think is that what I'm hearing, something along that lines, or?
I absolutely agree. I think when you're talking about, and especially in something that like 100 years ago, and even to some degree now, it's about survival. And so when you're talking about survival, there's really no room for social norms that don't fit into what is appropriate for that situation. You know what I mean? For social norms that aren't useful. And I think subjugating genders there was a time and place where it was useful to have one gender doing one thing and one gender doing another, you know, and I'm not here to say that that's like, you know, not like recognizing that and honoring that is like honoring that there was a time and place where there was a useful purpose for this segregation, is not, that's not sexist to say that, you know, but we live in a world now where that's not necessarily the case. But in Alaska, where you live in a world that's like a natural equalizer, because you just need people and more hands, like you said, you know, for survival, you know, for work. So
And that statement itself kind of really got me to think about it. And I kind of like, I thought, I kind of approached my wife and was like, should I ask? I don't really know, but I think it would be something interesting to get their perspective because of that particular statement, and she obviously was just like, well, I think you should, and I'm so glad I did now because this is obviously, I'm all ears, so I want to hear and understand. And, so I guess so in regards to like the lower 48, women's rights and feminism in Alaska, has there been like a historic sort of like history for that, or is this something like that's more like new? Is this like a newer movement for Alaska?
So I'm actually going to speak from a very different position than Alyssa.
Okay.
So Alaska experiences rates of sexual abuse, domestic violence, STDs, at a rate more than double any other state in the lower 48. Violence against women is like markedly higher here than anywhere else in the country. And there is a subset to the violence against women that is like specifically directed at violence towards Indigenous women, that incurs like its own set of data that is horrifying in many different ways. And I would say that Alaska, coming into its own as a state, has happened much more recently than most of the rest of the country. And so when we weren't even a state when the rest of the country had women fighting like the abolitionist fight for our ability to vote. And so by the time we became a state, most of the rest of the country recognized a woman's right to vote. And so there's a lot of catching up that needs to happen because a lot of these conversations haven't ever been had on a state level.
Wow.
That's just my perception of things.
Wow. I think that's see, that kind of insight I would have never even, I would have never heard of that. Do you think man, that was just a really deep answer, and it was kind of shocking, to hear those things. Wow. I'm sorry. It's just I want to be like more. I don't know how to, I'm trying to do the best I can to kind of, I guess, moderate this conversation, and it's just difficult after kind of hearing those kinds of things, So I just want to do it best I can to continue to handle this sort of stuff.
Like as a state, we're having a syphilis epidemic as well as a coronavirus epidemic.
Yeah, I didn't even know that. That's interesting. I will say too, the domestic violence rates are higher for women too, in the sense of like women getting domestic violence charges on men as well. Just to not to,
rates of domestic abuse
in general are higher here,
And so,
and especially in villages and remote areas, and it is an epidemic that's gone on for quite a while here, and you wouldn't know it, and like you wouldn't see it all the time, but it's just something when you look at the rates, if you were to Google it, you'd be shocked. And it's interesting to have, I feel like, that kind of dynamic where, women and men are working the same jobs, and at home, women are getting beat up, or abused. And maybe it's because of, I can't even begin to explain what the dynamic is. I mean, there's got to be a million reasons, but yeah, there's a lot of that, I feel like, where there's not like do you feel like there's a sentiment like there is in the lower 48 as much, and maybe that's not the case anymore, but like that sentiment that like girls do this and boys do this? Like, do you feel like that is an existing component in society here? Because I haven't felt that, but again, like I see a different side, you know, and I work with, I don't know, maybe it's the work I'm in, I don't know, but there are just as many women doing the types of jobs that men are. I shouldn't say just as many, but there are a surprising number of women doing those types of jobs that you wouldn't think of, especially me being from Texas and like where those kinds of like social norms are still very much in place.
Exactly.
You know, so it was kind of a thing for me to recognize that. But everything Mary said about the domestic abuse and the domestic violence component is 100% correct, you know, so that's like, how do you reconcile those two things? Like women being your equal in some ways. I wouldn't even say equal, because I can't say that men that employ women consider them their equal. And I know that my friend actually experienced some amount of discrimination, like just a lack of respect from other operators, you know, other technicians and stuff out there, because that's just the norm, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I totally get you. I understand it, because like in you know, in like Mexican culture, there's like there are things that, you know, men are supposed to do. You're supposed to be an alpha male, a macho dude, and supposed to take care of your house and provide. And the woman's supposed to be in the kitchen and cook and all these things and have all the skills to raise the baby. And there are those social things that, you know, our culture creates for us, and they create that sort of, this is how it should be, or at least we're taught that. It's just a social norm, I guess, or social conditioning. And like you said, I think you said something really important, whereas that Alaska as an environment sort of neutralizes that and exposes the misunderstanding, I guess, in that. And the fact that, you know, I think it's something that, like, you know, like I said, in the Mexican culture, it's something that we have the amounts of like, domestic violence and stuff like that are even higher, you know, in some cases. And, you know, so I know that those kinds of things exist in like these communities. But to hear like, you know, what's happening with like, you know, indigenous people in Alaska and stuff like that, like I haven't considered these numbers or even thought to even, you know, Google this type of thing. And so it's just like, for me, it's just hearing these things is kind of, it's just, not shocking, but you know, you're trying to take it all in. And man, I just really appreciate you guys doing this. This is amazing. I'm learning so many things right now. Like, it's awesome. Another question real quick. I just kind of want to follow that up. Do you think that do you feel that your local and state government handle like domestic and sexual abuse reports seriously? Is that something that they, you know, think are handling appropriately?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear.
Okay, sorry. So it's Mary, and it is my personal belief that the way the local and state government handles reports of sexual assault and violence is on par with the rest of the country. And it may be very cynical of me to say this, but I feel like most of the men who are accused of sexual violence and assault they don't have to answer for their crimes in general. And the Anchorage Dispatch News, in partnership with ProPublica, the nonprofit organization, recently published an ongoing expose regarding instances of sexual violence and or assault against women that have had varying degrees of accountability, I suppose. And, like, not to get into too much detail, but my own personal experience has been like calling the police after an incident and basically being told like, oh, okay, yeah, thank you for that information, and then nothing at all happening. So I don't think that our state or local government does enough, and I don't think our national government does enough for cases of sexual assault and violence.
Right. And it's very true. I agree with you. Nationally, we don't do enough. You know, man, that's a whole like can of worms. Oh, Jesus. What about I wrote some questions that my wife kind of helped me frame some of these questions that I prepared, but I'm just finding difficulty really trying to find places to put them in, just because it's like the stuff that you're telling me, it just kind of like, I don't want to be inappropriate, or as far as like, I want people to hear the severity of the information that you're telling us. And so like, I wish I was a better host. I'm so sorry.
I think you're doing a terrific job. And like I said, you are leaning into your vulnerability, which no matter what comes out of it, you're growing from it. And so am I. So I appreciate the opportunity to be your guest.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Street harassment. I'm a frequent Reddit user, and one of my things that I see a lot of times are the testimonies of women that have had to deal with street harassment. And is that a prevalent issue that you guys face in Alaska, or like?
I feel like in moving to Alaska, the incidence of catcalling has dropped, like, I don't know.
Which is so ironic, right? Because there's less women. Well, that's what you're kind of led to believe until you kind of ingrain yourself in the culture, in the society. But like, more men, less women, and but yeah, I don't think there's been catcalling, which is not an appropriate term to use, but it's
definitely not what I experienced where I grew up.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's actually significantly lower, and I don't know if it's because of the structure of the way things are here. Like, people aren't just hanging out on corners. You know what I mean?
It's too cold for that.
People are inside in their homes.
Yeah.
So there's just less of that I've seen, but that doesn't mean that that's not a thing. It's just I haven't seen it as much. So.
Right. Yeah, no, because I it's funny. It's like now I'm like, I spent some time on Reddit and stuff like that. You're like, man, like this is just kind of getting old. Like I really wish people would just kind of just be quiet. Like I don't understand. I don't get it. There's nothing tasteful about it.
Right.
And because this is a thing too. I had this thought. You imagine like in the 50s, right? Like a man would just be like, hey, and he would just ask a girl who's 13, 14 years old, come here. He would just tell her that, and she would willingly walk over to this man who's 30 something years old, mm-hmm. And he would do, an instructor real quick and tell her something. And then he'd probably marry her at age 15 or something, and I think about that today, and I'm thinking like, what in God's name were people thinking? Like, cause I think like the Mad Men era, and you think about women's mm-hmm. rights then, and you think about, just the different sort of like, just the way women were treated. And I have that thought, and I'm thinking in today's society, if someone were to try to do that, the amount of times they probably, I know, I'm sure it's still, I know it happens. I know it still happens today, but like, it's just so if you think about that scenario today, you're like, that is so like, that's so disgusting. Like, I can't believe it, but that's where we were as a society, during that time.
And it's the thing that I'm really excited about the future for with the Me Too movement and all of this is that like it will be easier for women on a case by case basis to just say no, or like you or like, no, you don't get to talk to me that way, or no, you don't get to look at me that way, or no, you don't get to treat me that way. I don't care what, position in this company or this society that you hold. Like, I don't have to put up with that. Whereas back in a different time, there was this just ingrained sense of like, you don't talk about things, you don't, I know that in my mom's generation, even, that was very much the case. It was like, you just don't talk about some things. And as like onerous as it can be to kind of go through these like movements that are coming out about it, it is necessary for people to know that, they can stand up for themselves, because ultimately that's what it is that on an individual basis, humans need to stand up for themselves in any given situation. If you don't want someone touching your butt, it is your job to say, I don't want you touching my butt. You know what I mean? And maybe that's a really...
And also, like as a woman who observes someone touching a girl's butt, it's my job to say, get your hands off her butt.
Yeah.
Did she say it was okay for you to touch her butt? Did you ask first?
Yeah, there's a lot more self-regulating, and that's what needs to happen. It shouldn't get to the point to where we're going on witch hunts. People should be able to stand up for themselves, and then I think, and I'm not saying you shouldn't be allowed to hit on someone. I'm just saying that, like, people should be able to say no and stand up for themselves without any repercussion.
Yeah.
Always.
And I don't think at any point should someone touching your butt without your consent equilibrate to being hit on.
To being flirted with.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's not that's not like tactical flirting. That is not how you engage someone that you're interested in.
It doesn't matter if he's your boss or any of it. That's
well, that enters a whole nother cadre of problems.
Jeez,
and not to minimize it. I laugh, but I mean it's a real thing that happens pretty frequently. And I know a lot of females that don't want to marry, don't want to settle down, with men or with or just settle down in general because of the things they experienced as a child, like being a babysitter and the dad coming home and saying things that make you uncomfortable, and knowing, and when you in some level equate relationships to that, that's obviously what marriage is, and especially if it happens enough times, and I think we can all speak from experience that does happen, and that we've all been witness to that probably. And I mean, I know most of the women I know have experienced that. And so you don't have a very confident perception of marriage or men in general. Well, so, and that's not, and I really do stray on the moderate zone of like, I get that we shouldn't all be living in fear all the time of just being able to comfortably flirt with someone and be afraid that they're going to come after you, but also have some self-respect and recognize that, especially around young women that are under the age of 18, you are a reflection of what they view marriage to be. And so if you're being somehow disingenuous about that, then recognize that your damage is actually more than what you probably perceive it to be,
Hey, I don't know if you know that.
Full moon.
But the full moon is tonight.
What? There's a full moon tonight.
What?
Did you hear that, Moon? There's a full moon tonight.
It's a full me out there tonight.
It's a full me.
It's a full me out there tonight. For sure.
Did you... Alex's zodiac sign is a Cancer, but he doesn't want to pretend like it is. It's actually Pisces.
Wait, what?
It's because he identifies as a Pisces.
Okay, so your rising sign... Or no, not your rising sign. Your sun sign is Cancer.
Yeah.
But you identify as a Pisces?
No.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh man,
What?
I was like, oh shoot, I misheard it.
Have you ever had your natal chart read?
No.
I told you not to get into this. I did this. I
don't actually identify.
That's a whole other episode.
Well, I was gonna say we could go offline and you could host a private chat where we read your natal chart.
Call me now.
My what chart?
Your natal chart.
I have no idea what that is.
It doesn't matter. You know what's great though about this episode? I mean, as much as we've just gone around the bush about everything,
Right.
I really appreciate that. Like, we went from a very serious topic to
Astrology.
Moon's sun sign, Moon's
Well,
natal chart.
you know,
You know what I
we're-
mean? That's a really good. I like that transition.
What is that? I'm curious.
Well, I mean, you have to subscribe to our newsletter.
Got 'em. Ladies and
have
gentlemen,
you have you heard about our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ?
Jesus Cristo.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I try to not take those cards when I'm at the park.
I think Jesus was a great guy. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
He was a chill dude.
So I want to get back to the conversation that we're having, because there's
Yes.
a lot of important things
apologize
here
for
that
that.
no, it's okay. This is the Average Fellas podcast. We're gonna
Thank
break
you.
out and have those little moments. It's all good. This is a question. This next question I think was I'm interested in hearing your answer to this, because I've seen this kind of stuff. I've actually participated in this kind of stuff as far as like being a part of the protocol. What I mean is, like, what are your thoughts on women having to employ, stay safe tactics by like walking in pairs? Because I've been approached by my female friends, be like, hey, can you walk me to my car like after work? I've been a part of that before, and I've definitely seen. I was actually driving down the street, and there was this young woman who was getting her phone snatched out of her hand, right? And there was a guy who was just, he was rough handling her and stuff like that, an ex or something, and she had pepper spray. And I'm thinking, like, this is a world that we live in where women have to ask people to walk them to the car. They have to carry pepper spray. They got to be home by 8 p.m. There's all these little, things that you're told because of other things. And, I don't know. Can you guys kind of speak on that for a bit?
Yeah, I mean, it sucks. Like, I grew up, in the same time that you and Alyssa pretty much grew up in, and my mom and dad, I was an only child, counseled me on like stranger danger, and like the expectation is that the world is full of dark and scary people. And I have done as much as I can since the age of 16 to like combat that, and just like ride like a free wild Shetland pony into the sunset.
You are a Shetland pony.
And for the most part, it's panned out okay. Like, I mean, it's been a really great ride. There's only been one decision that I made that I regretted, and it was like, something that, and like I should have listened to my gut, but I've taken taxis in Venice to Marghera, which is like the workers' side of the canal, and like partied at, all night long. And I'm not trying to say that those women are not justified in their fear, because they are. The world is a very dangerous place, but I also think like balancing your situational awareness, carrying and being prepared to use protection. So like, not just like arming yourself is completely useless if you're not prepared and capable of using your
protection.
armament. Yeah. Like
taser, knife, or anything.
Right. Like that little kitty cat.
Oh, and just clarity. Like my dad, I remember walking through the streets of Paris and doing the same thing. My dad would be like, keep your head on a swivel. And it has gotten me so many times where like I wouldn't, if you just pay attention, and because because the truth is that you could take all the precautions in the world,
Right.
and something terrible could still befall you, or you could, be completely reckless, probably like Mary and I have been, and been extremely fortunate to have, been on the favor of luck more times than not.
Yeah.
And
I definitely feel like a lucky person that I haven't landed in the frying pan more than I have.
yeah, we're very entitled and we don't even realize it. Yeah. But I think that, exactly that. Just like mentally preparing yourself more than anything. Like always at any given minute thinking, what if this happened? and just like mentally bracing yourself for it, and also physically, is a huge thing. And it's unfortunate that we live in a world that is like that, but even just that exists even beyond just the gender gap and the things that brings. But
and I know like everywhere else in the country, once again, I don't hear anything about Alaska because we're just so, California's California. We don't hear anything about anything else in California except for LA, so what do we know except for Hollywood? The Me Too movement, huge thing all over social media platforms and stuff like that. You see hashtag Me Too and stuff like that. And was that something that was, did you see that in Alaska at all? Did you see any kind of people organizing around this movement in Alaska?
I definitely saw people that I know, making posts saying this was my experience with sexual abuse or sexual harassment.
Yeah, I mean, I think we in Alaska get a lot of the same internet coverage, I don't know what you would call it, as anyone else, maybe even more because we're inside a lot, we're pursuing that, but I know there was one rally, there was one let's see, 2018, I think there was a rally that I attended, and it's kind of cool to see something in our small town, which is like a population of like maybe 8,000 people, to see like 100 people or 100 to 200 people just making a loop, around the town square, holding signs about women's rights, and we've had that a few times where there's just been like a small sect of people doing that, and cars driving by and honking and showing support, and it feels more personal, you know what I mean, than just when it's them, and it's very like media centered. So it's nice to know that we do have that here. It just is probably to places like LA or any other city, like it would be laughable in contrast,
But I think every little bit helps, the thing is like, recently we've had the George Floyd, incident and Black Lives Matter. That's, is a movement that's going on right now that we're seeing a lot in the news. In the little town that I'm from, or that I, moved from recently, they had a small, rally about it. And I seen some of the people in town sort of poke fun at it, and then some people that were in support of it. And I thought, like, who would have thought in a little town like this that they would, consider doing something about something that's, national. And, so I think it is good to see that. It's good to see that in your little towns, because a lot of times it's little tiny little towns, people think they're just ignorant, uncultured people out in the middle of nowhere, but really, these people are in it too. So
exactly. And there was the same thing here. And it literally was so moving, because in a place like this, very rural, very, not, very, static, I guess, you would not have anticipated the response that occurred.
Right.
So it was heartwarming.
Oh, that's good. That's good. So kind of continuing with the Me Too question, I know like this next question could be might be a little difficult to answer. I'm not sure, but I mentioned George Floyd and Black Lives Matter. And I think a lot of times, a lot of things that we see on the internet, people see there's the sentiment Black Lives Matter, and then the sentiment that, well, what you mean is that, what you don't mean is that all lives matter. And then the reality of it is that the message that we're supposed to get across is that all lives do matter, but like, the Black Lives Matter movement has a particular way of saying it because it demonstrates the people that are at risk that they're, that they were supporting at the time, and it's just continued to grow, and it's supposed to encompass all lives, right? Now the question about what I'm trying to get to is this hashtag not all men, and I think that was like a response to the Me Too movement that we'd kind of seen kind of play itself out on the internet, and my question is people's response sort of like, what about all of our lives? I thought all of our lives matter. I'm trying to understand the not all men hashtag, and I think I'm wondering if it's somewhere on the same lines where people are throwing that out there but missing the original point about Me Too, that women are having women are this is their moment they're moving forward and progressing and stuff, and this hashtag Me Too, all of a sudden they had to create this hashtag not all men. Do you understand what I'm trying to ask? I don't know if that's coming across.
So like not all men is the hashtag that's like in response to the Me Too movement to clarify that like not all men are, like sexist.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I am in a relationship with a man that I love very much who is a father of 6 children. He just recently was granted a divorce from the state, and he is very much like, this is gonna sound so funny because if you go to like r/MRA, like it's totally a nasty place that I don't want to be, but he's like a men's rights advocate or activist because he's one of those people who often is like, have you considered alternatives to circumcising your son because it's male genital mutilation and that sort of thing. And I think that like, personally, as a, like sort of a recently personally self-dubbed feminist, I get where he's coming from and I want to support his message, but at the same time, I think it's really important that, there's times where you have to lay down your line, like you have to lay down your personal set of beliefs to support the bigger issue. And so you brought up the George Floyd thing, and it's like, yeah, all lives matter, but that's not what we're talking about right now. What we're talking about right now is Black Lives Matter.
Because it needs to be said.
Yeah. And like the same thing kind of goes like, yes, we know that there are good men out there. That's not why we're making a stand. We're making a stand for women across the globe who have to deal with that 1 in 10 who, says like, oh, you're having a hard time coming up with rent because of a global pandemic. I have a really easy way for you to make rent in one night so that you can keep the roof over your head for yourself and your son for another month. And that's not something that I just pulled out of, left field. That is like a literal story that I read about that happened in April where a mom could not afford to pay rent and she asked for her landlord to grant her a temporary stay or whatever on her rent. And he said, yeah, you know what? We can make all of this better if you come spend the night with me.
It's actually, that's a super interesting topic. It goes into a whole nother thing about, like, I read an article about how in the, like, old, like, prostitution was actually the first feminist movement because it was women saying, because if you think about it, maybe, some men would say, oh, that's a great deal, and that's the kind of men that would maybe offer something like that. Yeah. And it's messed up that's, I shouldn't even say that, everyone has hopefully everyone has the opportunity to say no to something like that. Because it's sad that that's where we're at. But I would say though that like with the not all men movement, I'm certainly not here to tell anyone what they can and can't believe in, what they can't hashtag. If they feel like their particular demographic is getting, hammered, I like speak out, admit, say what you need to say. But like middle class white men, like I don't have a ton of
middle class white men.
It's not even that. The truth, this is maybe the first time that middle class white men are actually experiencing what it feels like to be persecuted. And so even though it sucks, and I'm not saying it's right, because really no one should be persecuted. And if you're accusing someone of being a sexist or an abuser or any of those, or racist, when they're not those things, then you need to check yourself. No one should be accusing anyone of anything without just cause, without knowing someone. We should all just stop judging people that we don't know, period, and pretending like we understand what it's like to be in their shoes. But like from a very 10,000 foot scale, I will say that like maybe it is middle class white men's turn to feel like they're being persecuted.
It's their turn in the fryer.
Yeah, so like if they want to hashtag away, that's fine. But
right. No, I really appreciate you guys talking and sharing your thoughts
very candid.
your.
I'm sorry.
No. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. That's the kind of conversation. You said we should get to know each other before we rush to a conclusion, and that's kind of what I was talking about, like humanizing the conversation, because a lot of times, like you said, nobody likes to lay down their line, lay down their identity to allow somebody to progress. And it's true. And I think now more than ever, like you said, we have to be willing to be vulnerable to allow that to take place. And because we all eventually want to get to the end of the road where it's, hopefully you can enjoy your life, and not have to go through some sort of constant, struggle for something.
Justification of
right. And so I think, I think it always comes back to, we're always like saying, can we just have like a day where everybody stood still and like didn't do anything? Because that'd be cool,
Agreed.
But yeah, no, thank you so much for answering these questions. I have two more questions about the women's rights and stuff. What organizations or where or what people are fighting for women's rights and feminism in Alaska? Is there anybody that, like, in particular that you would like to shout out that is doing this right now?
So I think I sent you guys an article.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a Alaska Dispatch News in partnership with ProPublica has a really heart-wrenching sort of coverage of some of the issues that we face, like women across the country, but like specifically firsthand accounts of sexual harassment, abuse, violence in Alaska. And that is, if you want, it's https://www.adn.com/lawless, LAWLESS. So that's firsthand narratives from sexual assault victims accounting their personal experiences. It's been an ongoing expose and one of the largest publications in the state.
Wow.
And I think it has been great as a resource for women across the country and the world. RAINN.org, RAINN.org is a really wonderful place to turn to. And this isn't exactly a group or a foundation, but if you were to seek it out, the Highway of Tears in Canada is something that's like worth looking into and worth trying to support. It's a highway or interstate corridor in Canada running from the western seaboard clear through like 4 provinces, maybe even further, of women, and mainly Indigenous women, being kidnapped, brutalized, raped, and murdered. It's been going on since 1977, and I guess it's a time-honored tradition for some very dark, nefarious people. But if you want to look into the Highway of Tears,
wow,
it's something that deserves more attention.
Wow. Last but not least, I just want to thank you guys so much for sharing the information that you guys have shared today, sharing your story, sharing your experiences. Yeah, it's just been really eye-opening and just really, like I said, like I'm hoping that somebody hears this and that somebody speaks up. I'm hoping that somebody hears this and chooses to hear, like, I wanted to hear today, and you guys definitely shared some information with me that I need to consider, and I need to really take. I'll go back and listen to this episode 100 times myself probably. But yeah, no, I really appreciate you guys sharing all these things. Alex, do you want to?
Thanks for listening.
Thank you for asking.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Thanks all around, guys.
Thanks, everyone. High fives.
Everyone, high fives. Yeah, we made
High
it.
fives,
Yeah.
Let's grab tea at what was the name of that tea house?
The moon. Something about the moon. It was something about the moon. That's literally all I remember. I don't remember.
No, man.
So we'll have to figure that out. But I'll grab tea and
bring your wife.
Yeah, we should do a Zoom tea.
Zoom tea, exactly.
Yeah. I know now that I'm talking about Zoom, it would have worked out better if we just did Zoom instead of trying to use this. But
Oh, there's no way to know that.
Yeah. It's.
Hey, but you know what? I think it turned out amazing. I think we talked about everything. So
yeah, we had a great. It was an enriching thing, I think, for both of us, and like for Mary and I too, because we haven't been able to do our radio show since the pandemic.
It's been really, really.
And that was kind of our bonding time. I mean, we hung out outside of our radio show,
but not really.
But only because Mary's just kidding. No, but yeah, our pandemic is really kind of the Moonbird thinks only of the moon. I knew it had something to do with the moon. That's the tea house we're gonna Zoom at one day.
It's in Insedong.
Insedong. Yep.
Nice. Awesome.
But anyhow, so yeah, this was a great experience for both. And we're just, thank you for putting up with us. Thank you for, all of the dog noises and all the things were happening in the background. Thank you for just being patient. Mm-hmm.
Travel down the road.
Little golden girls.
Yeah.
No, it was really good. I just had a blast the entire time. Real quick before we move on to I know I told you I was going to do like a lightning round with you guys, and we'll do the lightning round.
Yes, I was really stoked about it. And I get it.
We will do the lightning rounds. I'll explain the lightning rounds in a second, but I saw a post, Alyssa, one time when you posted on Instagram one time, and it was something about you were lifting the lid of something, and it was like something about like your poop house or something that you were like lifting the lid to.
Yeah, it was my poop house. No, it's my poop house.
Can you explain this to me? What is a poop house?
Okay, so there's lots of things that a poop house is, but what I have going on in my backyard is a hoop house, which is just a greenhouse with a greenhouse that opens, essentially. It's a raised bed with a greenhouse lid, some PVC, some 6 mil poly in a half circle. And it keeps, for me, the two benefits are, one, keeping the moose out because the moose get into my garden every time. And then two, yeah, they get in. Oh, and like right when it's at the perfect, like the day before you're thinking about harvesting your broccoli and all your stuff, they're like, yep, I'm going to just do a run through here. And they devour everything. And they put we call them swamp donkeys. That's what I call moose.
Yeah.
But anyhow, that's what a hoop house is. It's a place to grow your gardens, and your poop house is something different.
Oh, okay. So I must have misread that or something, but
it
was it was interesting. As at first, because I was thinking like, oh man, I hope they're not like pooping out in the woods in Alaska. Was my first thought,
But
I mean, we have,
oh,
but we have plumbing here. We have like, we have
it.
Wi-Fi, we have plumbing, we have like roads, electricity. Some of our friends don't. It's like pretty typical to not, but we do,
Yeah.
balling.
Oh man, that's funny. Well, I'm glad I'm clarified. I'm glad that's clarified now. So now I know you're just not out pooping in the woods, you know.
Not just out like and I doing a boomerang video of my poop house, which would be a very awkward poop house.
Yeah. Oh man, it's funny. Anyways,
I'm glad you asked about that. I'm really sad that you went so long to ask me about that.
Oh man, I know. I should probably ask at the beginning of the episode. I was also going to mention the amount of just dead animals that is on your Instagram too, Mary. I was like, oh my gosh, everyone's like, oh,
You've put your dead
skeleton.
animals?
Oh,
I haven't
there's
even
another-
checked yours in a long time. Oh no! What's going on?
I think I scrolled past like 2 or 3 of them, just skeletons of animals, remnants. Of
Oh,
animals.
okay. She does do that. Yeah. Have you seen her Facebook profile picture? I always joke about
I
this
don't
because her
remember.
Facebook picture, like her cover photo is like the Alaska state flag, and then her Facebook picture is like her in like it's like a professional glamour shot, you know. And I'm like, are you running for office, Mary?
Oh my
Like, what are you
goodness.
doing? You have to check it out.
For sure. So yeah, let's prepared a lightning rounds for you. Okay.
Great.
So there's 3 real quick lightning rounds, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you 2 options, and I'll say something like vanilla or chocolate ice cream, and your job is to say each other's preferences. Okay.
Okay.
And
Now, the logistics of it, are you going to say, okay, Mary, it's your turn? Or do we both just scream out what the other person wants?
just scream it out. Yeah, scream it out.
Okay.
And if you hear each other's like wrong or right answer, obviously you can be
It's
like,
ruined.
"What? You don't know me. We're not best friends." I'm not trying to
slapping
ruin
around
a
some more.
friendship. I might ruin a friendship before we leave this.
You
call,
might. This game might. Yeah, this might be the end of our radio show.
Doubt it.
We've gone through worse.
Well, that's good. There's hope for us yet, Moon. There's hope for us yet.
Okra.
All right, here we go. Let me pull up my notes here. Man, I'm such a nerd. I was making notes for everything for every episode now. I'm just trying to stay on top of it. I'm trying to be all.
And we just totally went off the rails instantly. So thank you again.
No, don't worry about it. All right, here we go. Lightning rounds. This is how we're gonna end the episode, and then we'll see you guys later. But lightning rounds. Here we go. Marvel or DC?
Marvel.
So you both like Marvel?
Yeah.
Although, I'm
Ah.
Marvel. I am Marvel. I used to be
Are you a
DC.
secret?
I used to be DC, but I'm more Marvel now.
Okay.
And it was just because Nick got me into the whole.
But before that, you were DC.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, Batman.
I
was my
just
shit.
learned something.
Oh, sorry. See, I used my one curse word. I used it at the end.
There it is. There it is. You didn't miss it. the sound effects we have, I make the sound effects myself.
That was good. That was really good, man.
Okay, on to the next one. Ready for this one? This is a very Alaskan one to ask. Fly versus bait fishing.
Fly. I mean, well, okay, so there's a third category that you haven't considered because you don't know where we live.
Dip
really.
netting, right? You
Or-
can't really bait fish in Alaska, which is kind of funny right now because of the.
So when the fish that we mainly all fish for doesn't go for bait or for fly, you snag them.
Snag them.
It's pretty
What?
dirty, to be
Snag 'em.
honest.
Do you just put your hand in there?
But yeah, fly fishing.
No. You use like any type of rod with a bare hook, and you jerk it through the water, and you hope that there's enough fish in the river that you catch one. You snag it.
You snag it by the gills or the butt.
Wow.
Hopefully neither of those. You go through the mouth, which is
Yeah.
a clean catch. As a government employee, you should know that.
Yes, I do know that. I'm joking.
She's doing yoga in my face right now, just so you all know that. It's like an episode.
We've
of
gotten
Lab
pretty. Yeah,
2020.
we've definitely gotten pretty antsy. So next
Next
round.
all right, last
next
one. Here we go.
round. Let's
Here we
do
go.
this. I'm
All
ready to scream out what Mary.
this is a
waiting
pretty-
for her to say what mine is.
This is a weird one. This is like fighting words one, ready? Because like when you discover the other person, you're like, oh god, you're weird. Pants or shorts?
Dude, I'm gonna say Mary's shorts, even though
Really?
I'm a pants girl.
Wow.
I'm a pants girl all the way.
I mean, if I had self-confidence, I would definitely be
You have
shorty.
that self-confidence.
I-
You do,
But
Mary.
honestly, there's nothing more comfortable than wearing a big wool sweater and
Shorts.
and some basketball shorts. And
I love
your
basketball
Uggs.
shorts.
I agree.
Yes.
It's kind of a Scottish look, you know, like a kilt and like a really
Basketball
heavy
shorts.
No,
and
no,
a
I feel you.
woolen
I get you
sweater.
because I do the
Oh,
same
my
thing.
Lord.
I get like a huge hoodie and then I'll wear a pair of basketball shorts because that's just comfortable.
Yes,
So comfortable.
It's the same aesthetic.
Same
Yeah.
aesthetic.
I'm wearing basketball
And
shorts
vibe.
right now because it's like 100
Yeah.
degrees out here every day in the desert. So
Oh,
I
that
cannot.
sounds so nice. I've got the heater pointed towards us and it's set on 82.
Yeah.
What's the temperature there right now? In like
I'll have to look it
Gonna
up.
check it.
It's probably in the 60s. It's actually been a really humid last few days. Let's see. It is currently 61. But
wow.
that sounds really cold, but it's not as cold as you would think up
It
here.
feels cold to me.
Does it?
Jeez,
That's
I'm
our dog.
sweating up here like just super. It's just hot up here. I don't know. I'm not a desert person, but
Up here?
down
up
here.
here.
I'm sorry, down here. It's just super hot down here by the.
So what you're telling me is when I come to SoCal, I can come visit you.
Yeah, if you guys are ever in SoCal, let me know. We can definitely.
We
Maybe
can
we
go
can
to
go to wine country.
Paso Robles.
Yeah, Paso Robles. I have a lot of family there.
Can we go to Paso Robles?
I've never been there. I would love
Central
to.
Coast.
Or
Beautiful.
Templeton?
I don't know where Templeton's at.
We need to do those wine tours.
Yeah, Paso
More
Robles has
wine country
tour-
weekends.
Tours.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
wine country weekend. Oscar, get out of here with that. Oh,
All right, next lightning round question.
Last lightning round. You ready for this one?
Ready.
Cream or no creamer?
Cream, 100%.
100%.
we both
cream.
said cream silently with our eyes.
We were like cream. Like we literally. I wish you were here.
Are you guys coffee
and I
drinkers?
have and turmeric and cinnamon in my coffee, but you got to have the cream.
Ooh. I got this new stuff. It's called Starius Organic Heavy Whipping Cream. I've been putting that stuff in.
Ooh.
Oh my god, it's so good.
But is it heavy whipping
Sounds
cream?
good.
It's heavy whipping
Or is
cream.
it just say that?
No, it's heavy whipping cream. It
Oh,
is.
okay.
That sounds amazing.
So I've been putting
What's
that.
in it to call it Starius?
I think it's just
That's
brand
just the
name.
brand name. That's just the brand name. It's like some
Okay.
families.
Man,
Perplexed.
dude.
Oh,
now
man.
I'm great. Now I'm wanting coffee and cream right now.
I know, right?
Now I actually used to just drink cream straight out of the
Ooh,
container.
so delicious.
So good.
Well, I think that's a good note to end on. Yeah. End on half and half.
Yeah, half
Um,
and half. That's very fitting.
So yeah, thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you so much for joining us on the call. I mean, I've had a good time. Alex,
It was our pleasure.
Alex, are you still here with us? I haven't heard you in a while.
I had dog issues.
No.
I
Anyways,
feel you.
yeah. So once again, I just want to thank you guys for coming on and joining the call with us, being here, sharing all your guys' insights, and just everything. I know it's kind of like a weird way to continue our Korea vacation, friendship thing that has happened, but here we are in 2020.
It's the only natural way.
Yeah, I think it's perfectly fitting.
It is awesome. That is awesome. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for being here and joining us. Once again, guys, this is the Average Fellas Podcast, and I'm your host, Odie Zach, and we're going to sign off. Is there anything you guys want to leave us with? Any last words before we sign off? We got about a minute.
I just want to thank you guys again and say that this was a really good conversation. It was good catching up with both of you. And Moon, you gotta let us know next time. Yeah. And there's not a
Also,
pandemic.
can we just hang out in the chat for a while so do your natal chart?
Oh, yeah.
She's joking.
I'm serious.
No, Mary.
Oh, man. I mean, I would be curious to see Moon's natal chart for sure. I'd definitely be curious.
Oh, are you curious?
Dude, you just opened a door of God. The
All right,
moon's not
guys.
even there. He's like, I'm dealing with my dog. I don't have time for your natal chart.
Every Monday, guys, Average Fellas Podcast. We'll catch you guys later. Thank you so much.